1624.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any public participation? We do not have public participation. No correspondence, no consent agenda. Moving on to item 4.1, our discussion action. Our financial audit report. We have
Chris.
I'm gonna need myself. We have Christy on Zoom with us today, and hopefully she can hear me. Check.
You guys stay muted, Brian.
Yeah.
Should be able to hear us now.
Christy,
Yes.
we're ready for your presentation.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good
morning.
Morning.
Wish I could be up there. This beautiful area. Not that San Diego is too shabby. Well, I'm happy to be here to present the annual audit report. This is for the year ending June 30th, 2024. So that's the most current year. And I'm just going to kind of go through the highlights, but obviously if you have any questions at any time, please let me know. I'm sure you've been through many audits before. Well, this audit is very comprehensive. As you know, the state requires an audit of state compliance, and there's always so many new areas that are added each year, including Prop 28 this year. And also we look at, attendance accounting over your special ed and county community schools. We look at instructional materials, educator effectiveness was another new area. So we audit for compliance with state law and federal law. In this case, it's special education is the big main program that you're running up there. And then the financial statements, right? So this is the annual report and the financial statements that were prepared by staff, submitted to the state, and are now included in this audit. So the opinions that we have is 3, and they cover all of those areas. In the financial statement audit, which actually is the first up front, our opinion is on page 1. And it says, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. So that's the best opinion you can receive. We had no audit adjustments. And so the financials that you see here are what were approved by the county board. The financial statements are on a full accrual basis of accounting in addition to what we call fund accounting or modified accrual. So you will also see capital assets that the county owns and is depreciating, as well as long-term debt, which primarily includes the pension liability as well as compensated or vacation accrual type absences. There's footnotes for all of the major items in the financial statement. And then the supplemental information is where you will see different presentations, including the final budget to actual for the county school service fund, as well as individual financial statements for each fund. And then there is also the schedule of federal expenditures. I think that's on page 50. Again, $3 million is essentially all of your funding is related to special education with a little funding for forest reserve money. And then you'll see we audited the ADA, which is on page 51. And so all that being said, we have our reports on state compliance, which start out actually on page 60 with a report, or an audit report, I should say, that we audit internal controls as they relate to your financial statements, and we found no significant deficiencies, which is good. And then we also audit compliance, and we found no instances of non-compliance, so that's good. And then our state and federal audit reports follow, and in both cases, they're the best opinion you can receive. We had no findings in any of these areas, and so congratulations on that. You are a low-risk entity when it comes to federal funds, which is also a good status to have. So I want to thank the staff for helping us get the audit done, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Christie. Do you have any comments or questions, Mary?
Yes, and just a remark relative to the organization, excuse me, but it's on page 58, it'll be 65 on your screen. The organizational structure, which is stated at the end, and it's not an important feature, but as of June 2024, Drew Duncan was our president, and the excuse me, Marilyn Fugit was our vice president, and it lists that differently here. States myself as president and Drew as the vice president. That was the arrangement the previous year.
Okay, so as of June 30th, 2024, Drew Duncan was president and you were vice president?
No.
No. Who was president as of June 30th, 2024?
Drew Duncan. Drew Duncan.
Drew,
Okay, all right. And then vice president was
Marilyn
Marilyn
Fugit.
Fugit.
Marilyn, okay. Well, we'll send a correction page. I mean, it's not
It's not
important to
germane
the
to
state,
our
but it's
mission.
important to you, so, yeah, I'll send a new page. And so we'll have Drew as president and Marilyn as vice president. Okay, great. And then you can put that into your official record, okay?
Thank you for catching that, Larry. Any other comments or questions?
None from me. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
You need to move to accept the report.
It is an action item. It's approving the report.
I move to approve the financial audit report.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item 4.2.
Thank you,
take
Christie.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you so much.
Item 4.2, take action to approve the SARC for 2023-2024 school year.
Dr. Odell will address this.
Sure. So the SARC, otherwise known as the School Accountability Report Cards, are an annual thing that every school completes for each school site. The purpose of these is really to be a communication for parents, that it's all data that related to that school site in one place that is easy for parents to consume. And for us, responsibility-wise, this is actually data from last year. So even though it's school year 24-25, it's 23-24 data, and we bring it to you to approve. Once we approve it, it goes on our website, and CDE also links it to their site so that any parent could see either on our site, on theirs, and you can also see ones from across the state.
Thank you.
And this is for the community school?
So there are three. We have to do one for Orr Creek,
Yeah.
for community schools, and one for West Hills.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I was going to ask, what are the grades that actually attend physically to Orr Creek? I know the original frame was much younger.
For the 23-24 year, it's elementary and middle school. This past, starting this actual year, 24-25, we added the 9 through 12 grades. So for this report, it'll only reflect the K through 8 grade
And the
levels.
attendance rate, or the excuse me, the enrollment grade levels would have, which grade levels were in the new structure? It's more curiosity.
For the ones that were added,
Yes.
the 9, 10, and 11, 12, so high school was added this year.
And so K-8 was still in the original setting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Practically speaking, there aren't a lot of
I don't know that since I've been in, at MCOB that we've had anybody under the grade of second grade.
In our report, there was 2 first graders this
Oh, were there?
past year, but I think that's a relative anomaly, but I would have to check with Isaac to be sure.
And there were some, I'd have to go to the numbers, but it was the 6-8, oh gosh, yeah, it's on page 3, but there were in the 4, 5, 6, there were 3 students, and then in grade 8, there were 6. And I substituted there on occasion some time ago, and we never had a student that was above like 2nd or 3rd grade. Just a remark. And the fact that the ethnic breakdown was, let's see, I should have been quicker with it. The student population was 63.2% Latino. No, I'm sorry, that was in the other program. That was all. Thank you, though.
Any more comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. 4.2 passes. Moving on to item 4.3, Resolution 25.1.1 National Counseling Week.
That is February 3rd through the 7th. This is a resolution you adopt the last couple of years anyway. I think it's been quite a while, actually. So anyway, our counselors do really important work in our schools, so we want to acknowledge the work that they do.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments? All righty. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you.
Pass the resolution. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
4.3 passes. Item 4.4, Resolution 25.1.2 JPA Stable Health Plan.
Yeah, so this is an annual resolution that comes to the board every year. This also gets taken to all participating agencies' boards. And this is really just saying that we will commit to a few of these things, including having in attendance at least 3 representatives from our organization to the stable board meetings, which of course we're doing. And that we're going to adhere to the JPA bylaws, and then also maintaining the standard coverages that are required.
Oh, thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
Any comments on the resolution? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
4.4 passes. Item 4.5, proclamation for School Board Recognition Month, and we recognize all of these wonderful board members, and we welcome Michelle Hutchins to our meeting today.
So there are some MCOA swag that on your at your seats today. We're recognizing this School Board Recognition Month in all our school districts. These are elected officials throughout our county that really represent schools and education, and so I appreciate those of you that are able to come to some of the meetings with us. We are learning a lot from every year when we do this. It's great to learn what's going on in our school districts by hearing what their school board's working on. So we have different gift bags for our school districts, but you have a couple things, and one is a calendar, which will I think Brooke will maybe talk about later, but one's a calendar. So anyway, we appreciate the work that you do and the work that you do every month, reading and staying up on things. And we are super happy to get out to our school districts and recognize them as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any comments on the proclamation? Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the proclamation.
Thank you. How about a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4.5 passes. Item 4.6, approval of the amendment of the 2025 MCOE meeting schedule. We,
Move approval.
thank you.
Let me highlight two changes just for the public. The one change is making, we had talked about doing the Good Beginnings training. That was previously, we thought we might go, I think it was February 5th. We had previously put that February 22nd, which is a Saturday, seems to be the date that works for everybody though. And then what previously was approved, the Ukiah Unified, the board meeting that we're gonna hold in Ukiah Unified in April, we clarified that that will be in the boardroom in Ukiah Unified. So those are the two changes.
Apologies for jumping the gun. I'll still move approval.
Thank you, Larry. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4.6 passes. Moving on to item 5.1, the first read of our board bylaws and exhibits. This was a long read. Some months it's more lengthy than others. There was a lot on here. I'm sure we have some discussion.
Veronica, you wanna highlight anything in particular?
Well, so typically we do like to highlight the differences between them, but because our current bylaws are so from 1997, we just went ahead and added the current plus the sample from CSBA after we made some edits and went through what was more relevant to our board.
The original adoption date and the last review date, can you expand on that just a little bit?
On the first read ones?
Correct.
Okay, so the original adoption date by MCOE, that's what your current bylaw is. And then the last review date by CSBA, so that you could see that CSBA updated in 2019, where we still had one adopted from 1997. So that's why we're not really highlighting like what's the difference between them. It's because they're so different.
Gotcha.
They got so updated, so.
Thank you.
Work in progress. Questions and comments?
I thought they were all great.
I think I'm very, okay. Going once. Okay, so that was our first read. We don't need to approve anything. We will move on to item 5.2, MCOE Strategic Communications Update.
And we have our Director of Communications, Brooke Campbell.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about strategic communications at MCOE. Are you advancing slides? Okay. Next slides, okay. So today I'm just going to talk about our goals, our strategies, some of the results of the last year, and our opportunities for future expansion. Next slide. So our goals are very much in alignment with our strategic principles from our strategic plan, our anchors. We want to strengthen internal communications at MCOE, craft unified messaging for our community and internally. We want to foster trust and strengthen our community relationships, of course, and then boosting visibility and engagement in all the different things we do, the programs, the initiatives, and the opportunities that benefit students across the county. Next slide. So we have, I divide these sort of into two different bins, internal communications and the way we internally communicate with our staff, and external communications, the way we communicate with our community and our community partners. Next slide. And I'm just going to go over some results of each of these strategies. This is a real whirlwind. I'm happy to answer questions as we go or at the end or anytime something comes up. If you have a question about our strategies or the results or some methods that we use, please feel free to speak up. Next slide. So I'll go for internal communications first. And the first mechanism of internal communication really is sort of that digital communication. So the employee newsletter, updating employees on what's going on every month, what kind of initiatives we have, sharing pictures out from different events that we've had. We have really high open rate and a really high engagement rate, and that remains consistent across the couple of years that we've had an employee newsletter. So that's great news for us. It tells us that that is working and that is a good way to communicate with staff. And we are continuing to work with Cabinet to find ways to make that more meaningful and to include event reflection into that. The second mechanism is really our quarterly all-staff meetings, so everybody gets an opportunity to participate either in person or online. We host it so that itinerant staff can join us after they've been at their different school sites. We have included different presentations from different departments and initiatives that we have. So at our last all-staff meeting, for example, Kara Pullman gave a presentation on MCOE's new environmental education. From the Learning Communities for School Success Program, LCSSP. I'm not great at the acronym, so I had to write that down for myself. But she's doing some great work with schools and getting out with different schools, doing environmental education in the promotion of attendance for kids across the county. So we got to hear about that. That's always really energizing for people to hear about initiatives that they're not working on. We host monthly leadership meetings now for all of our directors and principals, again, to try and work on that unified messaging and aligning with our missions, values, and goals so that everyone's kind of on the same page when they are directing their staff. We have a lot of different training opportunities that we've opened up this year. We asked staff what was most important to them and are trying to provide those opportunities as the year goes on. So we've had Spark Equity in Action trainings, and we've had some naloxone training so that people are prepared when they're going out into the community and into schools in the event of an overdose. We've had some trainings on the different forms and different processes that we've had change in the last year or two. So we've really worked with our administrative staff to boost their skill level and so that they understand how these processes work. So working on that internal communications and internal capacity. And then we've had a variety of different staff events. We've had some staff appreciation luncheons, and we host those at the different sites, at the community school here on the river campus and then out on the coast. That happens every spring. We had a big winter party this last month. That was really fun. Everybody got together at the convention center in Ukiah, and we had games and presentations and food, and just really shared an opportunity to get to know each other better as a community. We have different potlucks. This year I started hosting an art show, so we're going to have different art that's going to be cycling through the foyer and the Alder lobby, and so that's kind of a fun way for us to get together and celebrate student art and students. So yeah, just working on our internal communications so that everybody feels connected, engaged, and knows where MCOE is going as an agency. Next slide. Marketing. We do a lot of marketing at MCOE, mostly digital marketing. I do a little bit of print marketing. We have promoted 35 different MCOE-sponsored professional development events in the last year. So those are things that are usually of educational services in origin, but MCOE's business services has had quite a few this year as well. So really getting out the word so that people can join those those professional development opportunities as a community. The top 3 marketing initiatives that I took on this year were the adult education courses. So those are our phlebotomy and our dental assistant and our medical assistant courses. And we had 6 different courses this last year, all of them filled. I do a lot of paid promotion for those, so mostly through Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. And we got 231,000 sets of eyes on those programs. So whether that translate to links or not, we have a very small marketing budget, but it continues to be a really useful way for us to market to our community. We're also marketing with our Spanish language newspaper, El Punto, and we're doing some work with, when we have family events like the science fair, I'll put stuff in different periodicals that we have in town too. So it's not all digital marketing, but it's mostly digital marketing. Recruitment, our HR department continues to do a lot of recruitment through things like LinkedIn and some of the big ad things that go into newspapers and digital. But I assist them with our social marketing, and we had 95,000 people look at our ads this last year. So that's also a lot of return for a small marketing budget that we have. And then lastly, the science fair. We had 90,000 paid impressions on the science fair promotion and a whole lot more that was organic. And we had really great community engagement. Almost every partner that came to the very first science fair and STEAM Expo that we had, almost all of those partners returned, which is a great sign that things are working out and that we're doing a good job with those and that we're doing a good job getting the word out. Next slide. So we have really active social media presence, mostly on Facebook. I started an Instagram page this year. You may recall that we got off of the Twitter or X platform last year. We still have a page there, but we're not active on that anymore. I think that might be useful to stay on there if we have emergencies, but I think we have a lot more return on investment on the other platforms that we're engaged in. This year, Facebook actually made it a little bit easier to look at how many page views you get, and so we had about 51,000 page views per month in the last quarter of the year, so the last 4 months of the year. We have a 32% audience growth. That's really, you may hear that people are jumping off of Facebook. Doesn't tend to be the case in Mendocino County yet, but we're always looking at other opportunities and other platforms that we can be on. So in that vein, LinkedIn is somewhere where a lot of professional organizations have gone and a lot of people have gone for their career information. And so we have a much higher presence on LinkedIn now, and we've had a 56% audience growth, which reflects that interest and the attention that we've paid to it. And then we have a little bit of growth in our YouTube audience. I continue to do some videos and try and get out a little bit in Reels now, kind of beta testing Reels, and that has seemed to get a lot of eyes on our videos, so we'll continue with that. Next slide. Media relations, we submitted 8 press releases this last year. Those generated 25 different articles. We don't have a huge presence, print presence anymore in Mendocino County, not a lot of reporters, but a huge digital presence and a lot of outfits that are willing to promote our events and our press releases, so that's been really nice partnerships to create. We worked with Lake County Office of Education, Brock Falkenberg, and Superintendent Glenzer did a PSA for radio, which was an attendance PSA for the first quarter of this last school year, so that was kind of fun to hear ourselves on the radio. We continue to house a satellite site for KZYX and do an underwriting spot in the mornings. And then, like I mentioned before, we're submitting more to Al Punto, which is our Spanish language newspaper, especially as it concerns early learning and care. Next slide. We've had a huge emphasis on the website this year. We've done a massive overhaul. That was mostly prompted by the fact that our former vendor really stopped supporting their platform and stopped providing customer service, so we really needed to find a new way to maintain our website presence. And so we found a new platform. It's got a very user-centered design, which was really important to us, so that users could come on and find the stuff that they need. It's got a lot of purpose-driven content, so why are people coming to our site? What are the things that they're trying to look up? What's going to be the most interesting information, both for our internal and our external audiences? We've done collaborative development with that site, so every part of the site that you see is new has been developed collaboratively with that department and the staff that are in that department to make sure that we're reflecting their programs and the initiatives that they're working on. And because this site is new, it's a lot easier to continue to update, and so we'll have ongoing enhancements to that. We're probably right smack in the middle of that project, and if you go onto the website, the places that you'll see the most movement are in the student events. There's lots of different student event sections now, which is great. And then there's a lot of, there's a professional development hub, so there's a lot of information for educators. And those are the 2 places we really wanted to start our outside audiences that need the most information. And that's a picture of our professional development hub right there.
What company are you working with?
We're working with schools now. Yeah. And I can give you more information about that. They have been excellent. They were a dream to work with. So we continue to work on getting out in the community and doing events in the community. Some of our student events include the mock trial, the science fair, Poets in Schools. We just had the Poets in Schools book was created, just published this last December, I think, for the 23-24 school year. And all 10 of the submissions from Mendocino County students were published, so that's great. And in February, there's going to be an online poetry reading. So if you want to hear some of Mendocino County students, get online on February 10th and you can hear them read their poetry, which is a super fun thing for us to be a part of course. We're continuing to offer Get Arts in the Schools grants. Those grants are being administered, I think, this month. So I'm not actually sure which schools got the grants yet, but we'll have information on that soon. And then Young Authors Fairs are going to be happening all throughout the spring. So that's been really exciting. Job fairs, HR continues to do a great job getting out to the different job fairs, and I support them in getting the word out that we'll be there. Community events and tabling, we continue to try and increase our efforts to table in the community. We've been at some different health fairs, the Dia del Nino annual event, we've been there for the last 3 or 4 years. Farmers Market for Mental Health Awareness Month, that was something that we did every Saturday last May, which was a great way to get in touch with a different part of the community. We were doing painted rocks, you can see right there, we had all of our supplies out and people get really excited when they see all that colorful stuff and, oh, what are you doing, what can I do? And kids get excited and then they get to take home a really messy wet rock, so. We moved to pens, I think, this year, but it's been a lot of fun talking to the community about mental health awareness, and we have a really active team and an AmeriCorps, a younger person that is working with our AmeriCorps, which has been a really nice way to connect with the community as well. We were at the Disability Awareness Festival and the Suicide Awareness Walk as well, so really trying to get out in the community when we have the ability to do so, and it meets our mission and goals. Next slide. So we continue to support crisis communications. Administrators throughout the county sometimes need help with messaging. The districts, when there's closures, when there's winter storms, things like that, we are collecting that information, sharing it with in a early morning press release to all of the different media outlets for them, so that word gets out in a timely manner. We also launched the Titan HST platform this year. Kylie Heath mostly took on that work. She is our risk manager, and she found a fabulous platform with which we can communicate during all events. It can work if you don't even have a cell tower. It's a program that can work if our cell towers go down, if our electricity goes down. We can still maintain contact with each other. So we've been piloting some messaging and having ongoing meetings about what needs to happen with that platform.
What does it use for communication?
What's that?
What's its communication mode?
It has this mesh communication network, and so there's little stations on each set up around the perimeter of MCOE of our different buildings. And so even if the tower goes down, if you have a cell phone and you have the app, then you are still attached by this mesh communication method. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's going to be great if we have, if things really go down around here, we will be able to keep in contact.
So you need to have the app already downloaded, so you need to be prepared.
Yeah, we've been running drills with staff, and we had the earthquake recently, and we were all able to practice, going out into our muster spot and checking in on the app, or checking in through the website, or checking in via text. So we've had actually several opportunities to test it, and then we had that earthquake, and things are going pretty well so far.
That's wonderful. So is the local police department involved in that as well, or is it just a school?
Right now, it's just the school sites. I imagine that we'll figure out ways to partner with them in the future, but right now we're kind of getting down what we need to figure out and how we need to finesse things, and so we're having monthly meetings to talk about that, and we're doing a lot of drills and stuff. So I think we want to get down what we're doing first, and then include other bodies. So yeah.
Specifically, the reason I was asking is because we have certain roads in the county that will flood,
Yeah.
and nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody. I put this out there on the social media. Every year it happens when Talmadge and Venemeyer flood, and the police department, Caltrans goes out and they put up the flooded signs, sorry, and then you can't get home from work, a bus can't get through. Wait, you guys, we needed to have warning, and there's no warning.
It's a little frustrating, and we're not going to be the ones to provide that warning in most cases. We go through the official channels, but we can communicate with our staff in a timely manner when that official communication goes out. So we've also been working on a crisis communication plan. Kylie already has a number of different safety plans for the school sites, of course, and so we'll be working on that crisis communication plan and integrating that. So yeah,
that would be wonderful. And I watch the rivers too.
Yeah,
and we're having this. I mean, and the storms are just going to get worse.
Oh yeah, I live in Poplar, and everyone.
So you know what we're talking about. It's all of a sudden,
it's flooded.
Yeah, my 8-year-old neighbor went to the hardware store and then came home, and he had to rush home through the back way to try and get in before they closed. What's the back there? You can still get up that way after they close.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, yeah, but I mean, we'd be stuck getting a hotel room in town.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, we
that's just
also-
my,
we had that
that's my own
incident.
personal pet peeve
There
because
was
I'm
a-
stuck in that flood zone.
an emergency on the highway and the highway shut down and that was, cutting off the vein from Ukiah to Redmond Valley. So being able to communicate in a timely manner and
And
let
that's
people know,
wonderful.
especially with so many itinerants on the road, it's really important to be able to have a unified message.
It's also
Everyone's
been
safe.
helpful for our site staff that work directly with students in our MCOE schools when there's an incident, because there's not always an administrator right there to notify leadership of a potential need for support in a very timely way. So it goes out to multiple people and the first to respond. So anyway, it's been, and again, this is not with all schools in Mendocino County, it's a Mendocino County Office of Education tool that we're still working out, but it's great.
And I think some of the products that will come of this platform, a crisis communication plan, some of these things can be a model for schools that don't have those pieces in place themselves if they need them, or different pieces of the puzzle. No need to recreate the wheel on those kinds of things. So,
There.
go ahead.
What does HST stand for?
That's a great question. That's the name of the platform, and I have no idea.
That one, okay.
Get back to you on that one. Next slide.
Health and security technology.
Oh, thank you.
Interesting. I know, you Google faster than I
know,
that's what I just
did
said.
too.
We all got on it.
So last, I just want to address some opportunities that are coming up in the future. Of course, this crisis communications that we just talked about, sort of tightening that up and having an actual strategic plan for that. I'm always looking at different social platforms. There's all kinds of new things popping up and all kinds of things closing and changing and different reasons why we may want to be on one or the other. So I really have my eye on where we can most effectively meet our audience. And our audience is mostly the education community, but it would be nice to also be sure that we're on platforms that parents and, to an extent, students are looking at too. So the next opportunity, obviously this year, is to finish up the website redesign. So that's really exciting for me to have a website that fully reflects all of the different things that MCOE is doing and to empower our staff to update those sites themselves, because we have a much easier platform to keep up with and to update. And we're going to have a really great starting place for everyone. So they can just add their meetings or add a picture of something or add an event. I think the work that's gone into this is really going to pay off in the long run. And then last, the Schools Rule Foundation. As all of you know, this presents a great opportunity to reach out to our community, to talk about the good programs that are going on both at MCOE and across schools. So I'm excited about the foundation and the ability to communicate about what we're doing with that. Does anyone have any questions?
I've spent a lot of time on the website. I think the website is awesome.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
beautiful.
We're getting there.
It's the colors, the photos, navigating. It seems so seamless right now. It's awesome. I love it.
That is
So great
great
job.
feedback
That's
because
great.
we are halfway through.
I mean, it's
So
just the
we can get
pictures,
better.
interacting with the children and seeing the different things that are happening. I was excited, clicking on everything that I could and looking at the photos. Great
Oh,
job.
thank you. That's
I love
wonderful feedback. That reminds me, photos. So 2 things about photos. Somewhere floating around here is a book of our 2024 marketing and communications initiatives that we have done online. So that's basically a big compilation from our meta sites. It says 2023, and that is my mistake. But the pictures and all of that are accurate to this last year. So kind of fun to look through, what people liked the most, what got the most views, kind of where we're at with that. And then the second thing is your calendars. This was another staff event or a staff initiative we had. It was a big photo contest. So we had about 20 people submit 71 photos, and we did an internal judging process with people that had not submitted photos. And we came up with this beautiful calendar, and it was a lot of fun for people to see. I don't know if you looked at your last MCOE newsletter, but I put in a link to all the pictures that were submitted, and we really just got some beautiful outcomes. It's fun to display that. We have that in front of the office. We have it in the post office, and everybody that had a picture printed in there got a copy too, as well as you guys. So it's a limited edition, and I hope you enjoy it.
It's great. Yeah, beautiful photos.
Thank you.
Thank you, both girls. Okay, moving on to item 6.1, MCOE school reports and student enrollment reports.
So as you can see from the student enrollment reports, we do have some, we're serving some increased enrollment at our community school program. As Chris Francis has come in and worked with our staff and has built some capacity, we're able to allow, increase our enrollment and serve more students in need. And then our early start programs, state preschool programs, there's a little up in early start, a little down in state preschools. Just over the last month, they tend to vary a little bit. Our adult education programs, it seems like there's a huge increase if you look at the numbers, but that's because last month we were at the ending of programs and we had a few students just finishing up their internships. And we have just opened our new cohorts, so that that's why you see such an increase. But all those cohorts are now up and running, and for the January 6th month, or depending on the program, cohort.
Thank you, Dr. Odell. Do we have any comments or questions?
I have a question. For the adult education programs, are we at capacity with these numbers, or what is capacity?
So it depends on the program. We are pretty much at capacity with each of these programs. Our dental program, because of the work they do, tends to be a smaller class that we try to keep it, I believe, around 12. And our medical assistant program is super popular, and we're at capacity, and we almost turn people away to the next cohort or see if there's interest in going into phlebotomy for the time being. Phlebotomy is always full. Apparently, we like blood in Mendocino County. It's also a shorter course, so and a cheaper course to enroll in tuition-wise. So I think it's a good starter course for many people.
And how are these programs promoted?
So I will have Brooke maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I shared out, like I said, through all the paid advertising. So we do flyers, we do a lot of paid advertising on all the different social platforms that we think people might be on, and we do some really intensive dialing down on, Mendocino County and Lake County and Northern Sonoma County and ages and those kinds of things. So it's pretty targeted advertising. And then Tammy Mee does a lot of community events. She does tabling at different places where she might run into students. She puts out flyers at different career centers across the county. She works with a couple different places to offer wonderful scholarships. I mean, like half off tuition. So she's promoting that a lot. So it's kind of a combination. There's several staff members that are out there. And then of course all of the instructors actually work at clinics and interface with the admins and the people that might want to level up in their careers. And so there's a lot of promotion that's actually just happening on the ground in the different clinics where our instructors work.
Great, thank you.
If you have suggestions, there's always room for improvement and trying to reach new people. So
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if I were a student at Brook Park High School and I walked into my counseling office, would I see that these programs are available?
I believe so.
We should check with Tammy. Tammy also has done presentations at high schools, like at career days and things like that, so.
Yeah, I think she gets to all the career days.
Yeah.
She's really out in the community, making those connections person to person. I'm kind of behind the scenes, doing non-face-to-face things, but she's done an amazing job.
We've also been exploring having potentially like an open house like you would have at a school, and so that we can open it to the community, come in and see what those programs look like and talk with the teachers as well. We haven't got that fully fledged yet, but it's in the discussion.
I do know for a fact that at Fort Bragg High School, we have a career center, and she holds a lot of our flyers there for students.
I just wanted to comment, I'm very thankful that our medical assisting is full and busting and has a waiting list. We were concerned when UVMC started the medical assisting promotion there, and I think they were giving them the program for free, basically, if they committed to X amount of time at an internship or externship. And I remember we were worried when that happened, but apparently nothing's come to fruition on there, and we're still very, very active, because that's a necessary part of the program, and it is a big part of our career development there, so, yeah, wonderful, it's good to hear. Any other comments? questions? Okay, we will move on to 6.2 HR, new hire, looks like we've got some new
It's a
hires.
short list there, it's not prime hiring season, we're coming into prime hiring season. Actually, prime hiring season would be July 1, but you can see some of the changes in positions, some of the new hires that we have there.
Any comments or questions? Moving on to item 6.3, Ed Services Report with Dr. Nicole Adele.
So you have the report, I do wanna highlight a few things. One that is not in the report. So our director, Simbri Thomas Sweet, has been invited to participate with an organization called Californians Together and the Center for Equity for English Learners to go and review LCAPs and learn how those organizations rate the LCAPs for equity for English learners. And so she's going to be participating in that in the next month. And then they have in the past produced a booklet and report on what they found in LCAPs across the state and who are the leading districts in providing equity for English learners via their LCAP. And so she's gonna get an inside seat to what that process looks like and be able to bring that back to our LCAP team and be able to help build our English language or multilingual support team as we move forward. So we are very excited about that. We did some trainings that aren't highlighted in there this past week. We did a training in collaboration with Kylie and Veronica on how to properly do MOUs and contracts in our systems. And we trained everybody from admin assistants up to directors and assistant superintendents on what to look for and what all our pieces or roles are in those processes so that everybody's very well informed so we can increase efficiency, but also we are getting a template that everybody uses in the agency. So when we work internally or externally, they know what our templates look like. They're very familiar with our terms. And then we have an upcoming training working with business as well with requisitions and purchase orders and what to look for, not just at the admin assistant level, but what directors, when they're requesting or approving, what they should be looking for and following through. So we're really looking at trying to stabilize our processes, and as we have some new administrative assistants, we can get them on target with everybody else. So that's some upcoming trainings, but there's a lot more in that report. If you have any questions on things that we are working on, please let me know.
I was interested in Rising Scholars and how that program came about and how does it translate itself into reality for our people in the community school?
So I believe that's a program that has been in place previously, and we were able to, Chris has some great relationships that he's been building with different programs, including Mendocino College, so that our students at community school have access to college classes so that they can either get dual enrollment credit or they can get some of their base courses at the college in place. And in the past, I think we participated in the program, but then it kind of fell away. So he's reignited that collaboration and brought some multiple agencies to the table there.
Thank you. Sort of thing you don't hear much about when you consider the kids at community school and the things that bring them there. The fact that they have an opportunity to actually expand what has been a gross disappointment or failure for them. But this is if you will, a re-encouragement of the program.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Adele? All right, moving on to item 6.4, Business and Admin Services Report with Heather Rantala.
Yeah, and I will also highlight just a couple of things. Now that we're completed our first interim report, our audit report, thanks to Suzanne, is very clean, which is a great sign, and Suzanne does an excellent job. We are beginning our development of second interim budgets and meeting with the different departments to go over their budgets. that's on the internal fiscal and working with Nicole Odell and her team. We have, this week we'll be submitting our first interim review letters to districts. We have 3 districts who self-certified as qualified for this reporting period. And then we're also completing our attendance reviews, so that as well is due January 15th. Pretty much everything is due January 15th for us at the moment. And we have 2 of our employees in the business services department who were accepted into the FICMAT CBO mentor programs, which is excellent. So we're really looking forward to the information they're able to bring back, and then also, of course, use that to support our schools. The second vehicle, gosh, it feels like so many months ago, but we we purchased 3 vans, 2 for special education. One has a wheelchair lift option, and then 1 for alternative education. And we've received so far 2 of the 3, so the third one should be coming in hopefully by mid next month. I also wanted to note that Ryan Barta, who's our Director of Maintenance and Operations, and Kylie Heath, who's our Risk Manager, applied for a mini grant. And it's related to the earthquake readiness, so we'll be able to, it's a very small mini grant, it's about $500, but it's things that we're gonna be able to implement to make sure our schools and things are a little bit more secure. And that's all I have to highlight.
Can I ask what districts self-qualify or self-certified as qualified?
Yes, we have Leggett, Willits, and Potter Valley.
I have a question about the 2998 students allowed to carry Mr. Narcan. And they're going to be offering the training at the community school in January. I've thought about that myself, taking a training, and I have to take CPR every 2 years with my profession, and I'm surprised that they haven't added that to CPR, because it's such a crisis, and I think everyone should be educated. I guess I've never witnessed it being administered, but it is life-saving, and that person that needs their life saved is somebody's son or father or mother or sister, so I would love to take training on it, but I haven't seen it offered to the public, but
We've offered it to the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what, Marilyn, I wanna mention that it is, when MCOE does our staff certification of first aid and CPR, it actually is part of that now.
It is
So
part of
that's
that.
new, but it is part of it now, so.
Yeah, I took one it must have been, it's after I broke my arm, I was still in the cast, so it must have been October. I was taking it one-handed. I know, that's tough. They were gentle on me though, but they didn't offer the training.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a
So-
new offering.
When you offer it, will you reach out? I'm on the Facebook page, how else would I find out that it's being offered to the public?
We can share the information, but
I don't know if we have one planned.
We don't have one planned right now, but
Okay.
public health does, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kylie usually tries to get one done as scheduled in the beginning of the school year. But we made a note here to make sure to include you guys in the notifications.
All right. Moving along to item 6.5, superintendent report, Nicole Winter.
There's not been a whole bunch of work days between our last board meeting and this one, but I don't have a ton, but as Brooke mentioned, we had one of our quarterly staff meetings was the day of our board meeting, and the staff party that followed at the convention center, so that was, I think, pretty well attended. It's one thing that we have that we do in our staff meetings is we make sure that there's a report on something going on. Our agency has such a wide range of jobs, people that may never necessarily meet unless they're at a staff meeting. And so we want to make sure that there are presentations where people can feel connected and at least aware of some of the work that we're doing. So, the next one I think we have coming up in February. We have received a notice of intent to establish a countywide charter school. That is not a petition, that is the precursor to a petition. So there's nothing that the board needs to do at this time. I just wanted to let you know that our office has received a notice of intent to submit that. The board appreciation visits, as mentioned earlier, are great. If you haven't, if you want to take another look at any that you, if you're not already attending any, you're welcome to attend with staff. The Good Beginnings training that we're doing through CSBA, excuse me, I've been a little bit of communication with our, with the person who will be presenting, and now that we have finalized that date, we'll move forward with making sure that we have a very, the training that they have is for new boards, but we want it to be very specific to our board, and so that is what the training is intended to be. So that will be February 22nd, starting at 9 a.m. I believe that will end around 3, and we'll have lunch and all that. We have our upcoming board ethics training with board members from throughout the county, not many coming from the coast. I did talk to the coast superintendents before scheduling it. Some of them have already done ethics training. This is not a hybrid training. It's an in-person training. The school board ethics training is a requirement, but there are many ways to meet that requirement. So board members that are not able to attend this training are going to have other opportunities to meet that requirement, but we wanted to make sure that we had something local here. And again, we had such great feedback on our last board training, and the main positive feedback was it was great to get together with each other. So it seemed like a good thing for us to come together on, and so that is coming up. I think many of you are signed up for that as well, so that will be a good time. And then I wanted to highlight a neat thing. I didn't know it happened until I spoke with Chris Francis, who's our principal of of Oar Creek, West Hills, and the All Ed school. He went in on Christmas Eve and did Christmas cookie decorating with the kids that were in juvenile hall. And he said it was really fantastic, and it was just like a really special moment that he was sharing. So glad that he has the opportunity to work with kids during a really hard time in their life. And I just thought that was pretty remarkable, and I wanted to share that with you. I know that there are examples of those sort of quiet, remarkable moments going on in schools throughout our county, and we don't always know about them. But that was one that I thought, it made me feel so proud of the work that we do with some of the students that have the greatest need, and we are lucky to be able to work with those students. I wanted to highlight one other thing. So I'm the California County Superintendents is an organization that works with county superintendents, and they have various committees. And so I am now serving on 2 committees. I'm the chair of the audit committee for the California County Superintendents, and I'm the Region 1 representative on the state and federal legislative committee. So Region 1 includes Mendocino, Sonoma, Lake, Del Norte, and Humboldt counties. So I'm very excited about this work, and I'm excited any opportunity to make sure that the voice of our districts and our county is heard, and I welcome. So I wanted to share that with you, and that concludes my report for this month.
Moving on to item 6.6, board member reports. We'll go down the line and start with Larry.
Down on the end, trying to keep up. A couple things during the meeting. I was really impressed how the schools that we have, excuse me, are working toward prepared teachers. If you look at the trend of how many teachers do we have in their SAR reports, how many teachers are either, if you will, unqualified or out of area, and practically have to be a generalist and hold a general credential in order to satisfy all of that. But I was really pleased that that was going forward. And then the presentation that Brooke made was incredible. And the kinds of things that the people that walk around and remark and don't know what goes on, what does the county office do? What does it mean? I mean, I don't understand any of that. And then, of course, the broad services go far beyond the social contacts and that kind of thing. And that was vital. The other thing, Veronica and the quiet work that she does with bylaws. I can, something about that whole thing feels like lonely and quiet, and hiding over here, oh God, more bylaws. And putting out something that may sit in a place forever, and somebody will call it to somebody's attention, and maybe no one ever looks at the change in wording, but anyway, commendations for that, seriously. The, excuse me, the earthquake that happened here brought a couple of memories of disasters when there were those kinds of things. And this one goes way far back, perhaps too far back. But I was a graduate student in the University of Colorado Boulder, and we didn't have children in school yet, but I was concerned with what goes on. I'd already taught several years, and the elementary school and the way that they had announced to their parents that in the event during the, I guess you would have to call it the Cuban Missile Crisis. We lived on the Front Range, and of course the silos for the attack and the targets for those attacks were all located up along the front edge of the Rocky Mountains. And of course the control center was in Colorado Springs. So where we lived was ground zero as far as targets might be if there was ever going to be an attack. We'd made our own plans. House next door had a basement. But in any event, what they had planned was to line the kids up on the street if they were going to be dismissed, and everyone should come by and pick them up. And it was such a disaster, I just shuddered that it never happened, because one automobile bump or one kid running into the street, and the whole thing would have been a tragedy, much probably more than to us what was the attack. But I comment on that because a great-granddaughter is a kindergartner in Ferndale, and that was the smoothest, most pleasant kind of contact with parents and the plans to pick them up and how that went. And my granddaughter-in-law was never concerned with the safety of her daughter, and also the pickup in terms of that community and the way they came together. It just showed good planning, and it showed the fact that, yeah, this can happen. And of course, there in Ferndale, they were also within the tsunami zone if that was going to be happening. So I wanted to talk or comment on that, just in terms of how good we should feel about some of the things that we're talking about in preparedness. And then finally, whatever the new group is going to be called and is holding a webinar of the Association of California County School Boards, or whatever has evolved since, of course, the CSBA took what I think was a really unfortunate action. And they're trying to form something. And there is a webinar, I think it's later this month. I didn't sign up for it, but it's sort of like, careful what you wish for, you might get it. And I don't know what their plans are. We discussed it a little bit, but I think we need to exercise great caution in, maybe I should say great awareness of what will come of that group, because they can form something now, but how would it wear down the road 10 years from now and 12 years from now and so forth as we go forward. I don't know if CSBA has thought that through or if there's communication. But I see it as a bump in the road that we may be able to go forward smoothly, but it certainly hasn't been smooth since they took the action a year ago. Just a comment.
I'm gonna piggyback on that, because that is the big reason as to why I ran for this board seat, is because of the uncertainty of CCBE.
Yep.
So I would be interested in attending that webinar. Is that information in our email?
It came through. Did anyone else notice it? Maybe because I had some context earlier. I'll see if I can find it. Yes,
Well, I'm gonna piggyback on Michelle's
Please.
piggyback, because that was my, board report as well. I've had some questions, because I actually sat next to the president, Bina Lefkowitz, and we chatted up quite a bit. She's, the ACCDE, Associated California County School Boards, that's what you're talking about, right?
What is it
Yeah.
called now?
ACCDE, and her name is Bina, B-I-N-A, Lefkowitz, Lefkovitz. Great gal. And she's actually been calling me, we exchanged info, so, I mean, she's got my MCOE, email, because those are public, but she has my cell phone, and she's called me, and I wasn't sure if we were going to go forward and join this organization. I remember there was a financial commitment, right, for us to join, and we were, so, that was my question too. That's really the only thing that I've been doing board-wise is communicating, but I guess that's a big important thing.
would you have the date for that?
You know, I can open up her email, however, I just tried to do it, and then I got bumped off the meeting. So we're on 6.6, okay. I do have her email, but I don't want to switch to it because I have to run my meeting from this screen.
Well, perhaps you guys can communicate.
But
I
she
might
sent it
find
to all the board
It's kind of
members.
very,
Bina sent, unless maybe she just sent it to me. I thought she sent it to all the board members. I have a message from her as well, and I haven't called her back because I wasn't sure what to tell her. I didn't want to sound wishy-washy.
They have a website and it's not coming up right now. But I
Okay.
imagine that whatever
Yeah.
upcoming webinar, I think 3 of us attended their last webinar, and so it could be in my emails and I haven't seen what you received, maybe those of us that attended are on the list, but I'll see if I can find that and send it to the board members. I was in a meeting recently with the director of CSBA, and then they have, I'm not sure the title, one of their board, somebody that is like their point person for county boards. I know that they are intending to, they are intending to continue with the services that were previously provided through the CCBE as the region, I forget the number, whatever region county boards are now part of.
14.
14, thank you. They're intending to still do that, including, I believe they are including they did an annual conference, actually 2, spring and fall. But I haven't seen information on such conferences, so anyway, there's a lot to pay attention to here. But I'll see if I can find that website, it was very easy to find, but I'll see if I can find the dates and send it to you guys.
And I'll go back to her email as soon as I close
Great.
the meeting and I'll share it with you guys.
See, that's what you get, report first and throw a whole lot of chaff out there.
You know, let's don't back on this.
Thank you.
I'll let that my
Concluded.
So the only other thing I wanted to mention is, well, 2 actually. I have to just chuckle a little bit that we're still reinventing MCOE's website, only because it feels like that's an eternal thing. But it's been, I think, with every organization, it's just the nature of websites. But it's just
It is definitely got some eye
We're
rolls.
starting all over, like it's just
Got a lot of eye
cute.
rolls.
It was just cute, yeah.
With ADA compliance these days though, if you don't reinvent your website to be ADA compliant,
Yeah,
you
it's
are
real,
at such
yeah.
risk of being
Yeah.
sued, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just kudos to you guys for staying on top of it. I'm very impressed. And the other thing I wanted to mention is just with the passing of Jimmy Carter. He was the president that started the Department of Education
That's right.
at the federal level. And when you look at our national education system, I just want to, I guess, pay a little homage to him, because the foresight of creating an agency that creates a standard for all states to rise to, I think was very forethought, or lots of forethought in that, and I guess I'm concerned for seeing that agency's future or what it's gonna consist, and it just reminds me of how important the work is that we do here at MCOE, and I really just wanna thank everyone for being committed to that, because raising the bar and even setting a bar for education is a tough thing to do. You put your neck out, so thank you for doing it.
That's all. Commission, Don?
Yeah, it seems like I've been reading quite a bit about how they're still having trouble getting students back into the regular classroom. And of course, that sort of connects with our SARB program, if I'm correct. And I just wonder, how are things here in Mendocino County? SARB overloaded? Is it a problem here?
You know, we should come and have a report to you guys. I'm not prepared to speak to that. I do know, I can say that last year as we got a countywide kind of SARB support out there, we learned a lot there. So we have done things a little bit better this year, but we can get a report on attendance to you guys.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to start off by thanking everyone who helped the onboarding of, process go so smoothly and answer all my questions. And I really appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for making it easy and answering all my questions. I attended the Fort Bragg Unified School District School Board meeting last Thursday with Nicole, where we honored the school board members. That was very fun. But I was able to get an update on where they are with bond projects and non-bond projects. It's very exciting. A lot of the improvements that they're making to the schools. So a lot of exciting things in their future. I've not been able to make it to a Leggett board meeting yet, but I do plan on doing that as soon as possible. I'd love to hear all the wonderful things that are happening there. I want to give a shout out to Fort Bragg High School, who just put on a basketball tournament. We're a big basketball family, so it is an annual tournament. It's the Vern Piper Holiday Classic, and this year it was on January 2nd through the 4th. Fort Bragg High School admin and staff, and a lot of volunteers, parents, community members, even people outside of our community volunteer for this and make it a very special event. And I had the privilege of running the coaches room. So it was very fun to volunteer and be able to chat with, teams outside of our area. It was great for the kids. It was wonderful. And lastly, I think I just want to say I look forward to the trainings that are coming up. I can't wait to nerd out on those. So I look forward to that. Thank you for making those opportunities available.
Thank you for joining us.
I should comment that I actually knew Vern Piper. He used to fix my chainsaws for me. He did a lot of refereeing.
Yes, he did.
He was very involved there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his wife, his family is a big presence
Yeah.
at the tournament, and it's such a great event, and we get to reminisce and talk about our memories, and he was a very, very special gentleman.
While we're remembering Vern Piper, I will get my 2 cents in there. He was an employee of mine entire lifetime ago. I had a logging company, and he had the saw shop, but he was also our tree faller as well, and he was excellent. He worked with, what was his name? Oh gosh, it's so long ago. It'll come to me after the meeting, but yeah, he was our tree faller.
No kidding. I never knew he did
If
that.
I
That's-
remember correctly, he was Native American.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, his family's very involved. Okay, well, thank you for your report.
Larry has
Yeah.
Oh, Larry's.
I was just going to remark in terms of the training of board members that all of us, 2 years ago, I believe it was, that went through however many Saturdays for Masters in Governance, which is offered through CSBA. And it was a really valuable interaction and sort of thing. Took a ton of time, but every one of us on the board, including Michelle, participated in every minute of it, and I don't think there was any other board in the state that did. And at least in terms of when we were online with them and it was a singular program, the thing has gone on. And it's a place where whatever this training produces, and it's a valuable experience, but MIG, as they call it, is ongoing in CSBA, and they even make reference to it at their annual conferences where members or graduates or whatever it might have been for that. So that training is there, and it was offered as we are members of CSBA. In spite of what they did to Division 14.
That was very valuable training, Larry, and at the last conference in Anaheim, I recognized probably a dozen faces. I don't recall their names, but,
Yeah.
oh, I remember all these, it was just talking heads at the time, but we made all these contacts, and one person we sat and talked to each other for quite a while. It's just, it's great. It was one of the good things that came out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But Nancy, yeah, that's some Masters in Governance is ongoing.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
Okay, no closed session. Moving on to 8.1, our next board meeting is Monday, February 10th. And 8.2 is adjournment.
Was it possible to get an update on the Whale Gulch School, at the next board meeting, just in terms of what they're doing for education and how things went over the next?
Sure.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I don't believe I need a second for this, do I? All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Now I can open that email.
Oh, right.
Our internet kicked me off, and I thought, oh no, where's my meeting? Thank you, Will.
The AC's.